Hey everyone, this is the Honda 400EX that I'm going to be rebuilding and restoring. I've had a lot of people say to me, why don't you make videos of all the stuff that you've been doing? I've been rebuilding and restoring dirt bikes and quads for about a year and a half now, and I guess this will be my first attempt at a video. If it works out, I'll keep doing it. I guess I'll get into a little bit of the history of what I've been doing, and then we'll go from there. So this is a Grizzly 125 that I picked up in a trade for a car tent. I got the car tent from nothing from a friend of mine. I had no use for it, and the wife didn't want it in the yard, so I put it up for trade on Facebook Marketplace, and I ended up scoring this. The story behind it, the guy I got it from said that he's had it since new. He was having a problem with it starting after it warmed up, and he said the battery was dead and it wasn't running too good when it was running. So what I did was I brought it home, went through it, cleaned the carburetor, adjusted the valves. Typically when something stops, it's hard to start after it's hot. It's because the valves are out of adjustment, and that was the story with this. So I adjusted the valves, cleaned the air cleaner, went through the carb, did a few other things, and basically it runs awesome. Currently this is like my yard machine. I ended up picking up a Craftsman dump trailer for it. As you can see here, it does have a trailer hitch. So this is a pretty nice yard vehicle. I have a good sized yard, so I use it to move mulch around, get rid of yard waste. I drive it out into the woods and dump it. But it's a pretty nice machine. I'm happy with it, and I essentially got it for free. The front was a little smashed up, and I ended up fabricating up this front crash bar right here, and I made it out of some tube steel, 1/8 thick. It's a lot thicker than the original stuff, and I think it came out pretty nice. But nice little quad. Again, I have no problems with it. I like it. The next quad that I did was this Raptor. It's a 2008 Raptor 250. I basically picked this up in a trade. I traded an XR100 that I had, and that was a 1986, plus a little bit of cash, and I picked this up. The story behind this one was the guy I bought it off said that his kids were riding it and stopped running, and they couldn't get it to start. I did a quick look into it, and I saw a valve was hung open, so I figured it either had a bad valve spring, a rocker arm, or it dropped the valve, one or the other. It ended up being a drop valve. By the time I took the motor apart, it was pretty rough shape. So it needed a complete new top end, as you can see here. The head is brand new. It has a new piston. I used most of the stuff inside the head, rockers, shafts, all that stuff. I put a new chain on it, new sprockets, and it's a pretty nice running machine. My wife loves it. I got a pretty good deal on it, and I'm happy with it. Let me show you some of the parts that I took off it so you can get an idea of actually what I had to do to this quad. So these are the parts that I had taken off the quad. As you can see, that valve is pretty bent. It also snapped off with a keeper's grab. That's why it dropped. You can see where it hit right in here. It hit the piston. That's what caused it to bend. The damage to the piston, and as you can see here, the damage to the head. I'll put a little light on it for you. The damage to the head was caused by that cast iron valve guide in there breaking off due to the valve being bent. The damage was pretty isolated to the top of the cylinder. Most of the pieces stuck in the head. I actually broke them, had to chip them all off the head. There was a couple pieces stuck in the piston. So basically what I did was I replaced the piston, and the head. I used pretty much all the parts from this head. The only thing I didn't use was that back barron back there, which you can see. But I used basically everything else. It was all in good shape. I did replace both valves. They were cheap enough while it was in there, so I did it. As you can see, the motor wasn't running bad. I mean, there's not a lot of oil buildup in there or anything. You can see the rings were in decent shape. Let me put a little bit of light on that. You can see that the rings were in decent shape. Really was not much going on with those. So the bore was great. I gave it a quick hone. It cleaned all up, got nice cross hatching, and put it back together, and that quad runs fantastic now. Next is this Kawasaki KR250, which I picked up for a pretty good deal. This bike didn't run when I got it, which made me a little nervous, but didn't have spark. It needed a stator. It was missing some of the plastics. One of these radiator shrouds was missing. The original shrouds were blue, same color as the seat and that number plate area. Couldn't find the blue one anywhere. I ended up going to Milwaukee Cycle Salvage online, and they had these two shrouds in black, so I ended up purchasing them just so I had a match set on there. I ended up picking up this chain guard there as well. I did a valve adjustment on this. I didn't need to do a carb cleaning. Once I finished doing the small things that I did to it, it fired right up. The directionals weren't working, so I had to get a new relay. All said and done, this bike I actually ride. I've been riding it all summer. It is currently registered in New Hampshire. It's a great bike. A little bit top heavy for trail riding. I do enjoy riding it though. Kind of like a Cadillac, nice and smooth. And I planned on riding this on the street. That's why I got the dual sport. But with COVID, registry hasn't been open. Haven't had a chance. It's just a big nightmare right now. So I probably won't ride it this summer at all on the roads. I'll just continue to trail ride it. But I do like this bike, and if you guys ever come across a good deal on one and you're thinking about buying it, I would suggest purchasing it because they are a pretty nice bike. Alright, so now I give you a quick rundown on a few of the things that I've rebuilt and worked on that I currently still have in my possession. There's been a few bikes that I don't have anymore. I had a 1983 XR100. I ended up trading that for the 86, and this bike here I ended up trading a 1997 Yamaha Blaster for it, which I completely rebuilt. I completely redid that bike from top to bottom, new motor, new swing arm barons. I completely went through the entire bike, painted it, I stripped it down to a bare frame, and it came out really nice. So I traded it for this. I had about $1,000, maybe $1,100 into that Blaster, all said and done. And I've kind of always wanted to pick up one of these 400 EXs, and it was a chance for me to pick it up relatively cheap. This bike here, so basically I paid $1,100 for it. Did he get the better end of that deal? Probably, but the Blaster was a little bit too small for me. I'm 5'11". The bike was still a little too small for me to ride. Not big fan of two strokes anyways, because I do a lot of trail riding and I'd rather have low end torque than high end power band. So I think this bike in the long run will be better for me. It has a lot of good stuff on it. It has the bead protector rims. It also has the Nerf bars. It's got the front crash bar. It's got Pro Taper handlebars. It's got a few things on it. What else does it have? It has the A-frame protectors. I also have over here, which I'll show you. It also came with a full skid plate, which is not currently on it, but I will be putting that back on in a future video. What have I done to it so so far I've replaced the piston. I gave it a hone. The cylinder was in good shape. I checked the lower end. The lower end's good. The crank's good. The crank connecting rod's good. That is a Y-scope piston. It's got brand new rings. So that is done so far. Let me go over some of the other things. So the guy I got this off of, he was kind of in over his head. Actually, he was more of a teenager. I think he was maybe 16 or 17. He just wanted a ride, so the Blaster was a good deal for him. This bike here, he was a little over his head. He just didn't know anything about four strokes. So it worked out for both of us. The bike came with some new parts, and some of the parts are here in this box. Came with a battery cover protector slash whatever. It's not for this bike, it's for another one. I looked it up. It is a Honda part, but it's not for this bike, so I won't be using that. Came with brand new headlight bulbs, brand new air cleaner. Came with a brand new air cleaner cover. Some gaskets left over from the gasket set he must have had. Brand new clutch cable. That's airbox seal. He also gave me the spark plug socket that he had to buy for it, because clearly it takes a special one. Here's the piston. It also came with the Y-scope piston, brand new, which I installed. Yeah, so that's where it stands right now. Let me go over some of the parts that I've taken off it so far and give you an idea of. Alright, so this is the head that I took off. As you can see, the cam journals are in rough shape. They're all scoring. This head is basically not usable. So I got a new one on order. I'm waiting for it to come in. I haven't pulled the valves yet. I'll do that in a future video. I think I'm going to wait until I get the new head before I do that. This side here doesn't look too bad. A little bit of carbon buildup, but the valves look like they're seating pretty good. So I'm hoping that I can reuse them. We'll see. I'll check them, put the specs on them, and see where we're at. One thing I do want to point out, let me grab a light here. One thing I want to point out is, if you look in here, you can see that there's some pretty good carbon, or I should say oil, buildup in there. That tells me that the rings were probably bad, and that's why this thing was being torn apart in the first place. If you look at this side, it's really bad. So I'm assuming that not only did it need rings, but this side of the head probably needed valve seals as well. I mean, because if you look down inside there, that's pretty bad. So this needed to be done anyway, and again, the head's on order, and that'll be in a future video on swapping out the valves and all that stuff. The cam, I don't know if you can see it, but I'll put a bit of light on it. The cam journals are spent, and the lobes are in rough shape. They have, let me rotate it around here. You can see here. It's going to stay up. Let's see if I can hold it. You can see there. That's a massive step right there. So this camshaft's not usable either. It's pretty much junk. Give you an idea of how bad it is. Take a look at the Baron. I mean, doesn't get any worse than that. So these two parts are no good, and the valve cover itself is also part of the valve train. For all you guys that are familiar with the 400EX, you can see once again these valve journals are completely spent. Camshaft journals are completely spent. This is not a usable part either. As well as the rocker arms, you can see where they impact the camshaft. They are pretty much toast as well. I'm not sure if this had an oil feed problem or if someone was running it without an air cleaner. I don't know, or a combination of the two, but none of this is usable. So I have all these, all new parts on order, just wait for them to come in. I mean, some of the stuff I'll use, once I pull it apart, maybe I'll use these pivot pins that are in here. They all feel pretty good. They don't feel sloppy or worn. They all feel pretty good. So maybe the pivot pins will be alright. I won't know until I pull them. Again, I'm going to wait until the new parts come in for that. Of course, I'll use the inspection caps here for valve adjustment. I'll reuse those. But hopefully I can reuse these pivot shafts. If not, I'll order new ones. But as you can see, most of this stuff is unusable. And I plan on rebuilding this properly. This is the side cover. And I'll show you why. So I pulled the side cover because if you can see this tensioner right here, I'll pull it out for you so you can get a better look at it. This tensioner is broken and it looks pretty worn, so you can see there's some wearing up here on the top. So I am going to replace the timing chain as well as both guides, both plastic timing guides here, timing chain guides, excuse me. Might as well while I'm in here. Also, I took the screen out for the oiler. Not for the oil, the oil pump. It had a lot of stuff in it. It had some pieces of aluminum, and I'm pretty sure that the aluminum came from the head and the valve cover. From the looks of it, there wasn't any steel in there; it was all aluminum. So I'm pretty sure the pump is okay because it looks like it stopped it all. I pulled the oil filter out and changed that. That all looked good. Again, all this stuff is going to be in future videos. This is just part one. I plan on making multiple part series here on this rebuild if you guys are interested in watching it. One of the other things that I did do to this right now, and maybe some of you might want to comment on what you think. I'm not really a big fan of the way these bead protectors look. Looks like someone painted them red, and when they get scratched, they look kind of crappy. I don't really like the look of it. So what I did was, on this side, I pulled them off. I sanded them down. I polished them up. I painted the wheels black, a fresh coat of black so they shined a little bit. And I put a clear coat on the bead protectors themselves, so that if they do get scratched again, it's not going to show up. And honestly, I like the way that it looks better. I like it better. What do you guys think? Let me know. Or don't, whatever. But I think I'm going to keep it. I like it. I'm going to do the other side, and that'll be in a future video. I will show you the process of how I did that. Not too difficult, but I will add that as well. I need to do some electrical work on this. Also coming up, I'll probably rebuild the cob. I'm going to do a ton of cosmetic stuff to it. Show you how we can beautify it. Just make it an all-around nice quad. I'm going to paint the frame. I'm going to do to this like I did to the Blaster. Just do a complete ground-up restoration on it. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, subscribe, follow, thumbs up, all that kind of stuff. And I look forward to sharing some more videos.